This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Global Investors Summit 2023, India, a preferred destination for investing. The participants are Udayan Ray, economic analyst, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, AIR correspondent.
Well, in today's program, we'll try and understand the importance of this summit, India as a key destination for foreign investment and especially for manufacturing. And within the state of India, we have the states, individual states, vying for this investment by foreign investors and the double engine growth that Prime Minister Modi has spoken about, where the government is in power both at the center and the state, would enjoy the benefit of investments reaching out to the states. So what's your take about this Global Investor Summit, Udayan? How important is it to the individual state per se and for the Union of India as a whole?
When it happens in a particular state, in this case it was Madhya Pradesh. Now, what happens is it helps focus on the policies and the progress that's being done by the state, the new changes, the new developments. So it helps the state showcase what all they have to offer, and it helps attract investment. On the minimum, it helps the state to enter into a dialogue with potential investors. In this case, I believe over 500 industrialists had sort of come and turned up, and they had, I think, 1.5 lakh crore worth of investment proposals were discussed. So that is the kind of potential that we are looking at, and that's the kind of things that are discussed. And sometimes what happens, Arjun, is there are some states which are very well known. Typically, they're highly industrialized or there's a lot of economic activity happening. And it's now time for other states which are also doing well to also get showcased, right? So in case of Madhya Pradesh, there's lots to flaunt or showcase, whether it's textiles or you look at pharma, the kind of policies, the kind of infrastructure, the kind of connectivity it has in terms of road and other connectivity it has to some of the leading economic centers, whether it's Delhi, Bombay, with Hyderabad. Sometimes, just showcasing the infrastructure, the policies also helps you attract investment. And if India is going to really step up and, get to a $10 trillion kind of economy in the foreseeable future and then far beyond that, what needs to happen is states also need to be, showcasing and pushing the growth upwards. So in this case, for instance, Madhya Pradesh, the government is they're talking about a contribution of about 500 billion to the Indian GDP. So that's quite a lot by 2026. So those are ambitious targets. So what happens is the targets are not just set up in Delhi, in Lutyens, Delhi, but, in state capitals, and it percolates down and policies become more realistic, and you adapt central policy. The states can come up with policies which actually multiply the effects. So you talked of double engine. It's somewhat like that. So some of these things that are happening, and also the whole plethora of things, whether it's infrastructure in terms of digital infrastructure, whether it's policies related to renewable energy, all these things are there. But what happens is they're always there. But when you have a meet of this magnitude, of this importance, light gets shed on these kind of important policy. Otherwise, they don't get the kind of amplification that the state requires.
Well, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has claimed that he is a de facto CEO of the state of Madhya Pradesh and promises to allot land within 24 hours if the investment is real and there.
Well, Arjun, the good part is most of the chief ministers have been acting like CEOs. Where I'm talking about the states where economic activity has been happening. There have been other states where there have been a little bit of turmoil, shall we say, that there are other issues, connectivity and other issues are there. We're not talking about them, but say the southern states and some of the other states in the west, they have been going to East Asia or the West, and they have been making the kind of pictures which CEOs make. So that has been happening, and it's good to a state like Madhya Pradesh, the word CEO entering into the political lexicon. So it's good to hear that, because these are the kind of words and terminologies which the businessmen want to hear. There is a friendly atmosphere, the clearances will happen fast, and you can get started with the business very quickly, and you can actually show it to your investors and stakeholders, and expands well. So in this case, Madhya Pradesh is a large state, and of course, I'm sure future global, these kind of investor meets will also have reasonably important states with a reasonable amount of infrastructure and economic growth. So whenever that is going to happen, you will again find them to be, if they don't use the word CEO, they will be acting like CEOs, making a pitch, competing for foreign investment coming in India, which is a very healthy thing, because you are basically making the whole apparatus, whole mechanism friendly for economic growth. And through economic growth, as we know, more jobs, more income, more economic activity. So all those virtuous elements of a virtuous cycle being right in place.
So Madhya Pradesh is being promoted as a clean state along with a sufficient production of electricity in terms of wattage, mineral rights being available to investors. When you talk about electricity, 25,000 megawatt of electricity is being produced in the state. Then there is industrial peace. So there's no issue regarding labor disputes. Bureaucracy being very responsive to business and government as well, and 11 climatic zones in Madhya Pradesh. It's become a food basket for India. You think that these are the parameters for other states to emulate as well in order for them to attract investment?
Well, absolutely. Whenever an investor is coming, they will look at how quickly they can get set up the project. You mentioned about land, how easily they can get manpower. These are the kind of things people look at. And what's very interesting is, Arjun, that in case of Madhya Pradesh, it is now getting linked up with other high economic activity states like its neighboring Maharashtra and then Gujarat and NCR sort of region in terms of connectivity. And when all this is happening, is what happens is then the whole thing, you become part of the continuum. And because of the corridors that have been built, the kind of industrial areas or industrial activity, shall we say, areas of industrial activity that are being promoted, what it does is then it helps you to identify those areas where you would want to set up your business and go about it. So where would you get labor? If we are talking qualified labor, competent labor, and you mentioned labor relations, it has to be good. Administration has to be responsive. These are some of the things, these are all the boxes that have to be ticked. And, meets like these, events like these help state governments make a pitch and showcase what's available. And they actually give a boost to their economic growth.
So tourism is also something that is being promoted, hospitality and tourism. Madhya Pradesh has abundance of wildlife, including tigers, leopards and crocodiles. And the season starts from February. So it seems to be a very good package for domestic and foreign investment.
Well, absolutely. And Arjun, we are all aware of the very highly acclaimed advertising campaign which MP Tourism had done, showcasing the various areas. So they have been working pretty hard, and there is a lot. As we know, Arjun, the tourism does generate a lot of jobs. If we can get our act together much more, then we can really tap. And when you have this, then there are other areas. You'll have the hospitality industry, then you have other sort of linked sort of industries that come into play. And that actually helps you create those jobs and the kind of ecosystem, economic ecosystem that you would want to help you speed up the economic growth of a state.
Let's discuss about the ease of doing business. That's something that we have looked at very keenly, both in terms of India's rank in the index, and you also have the state's rank in a sub-index. So how are the states competing with each other? Land cannot be the only factor, access to water, electricity, power, but more importantly, clearances. How important it is for industry to set up shop and be able to leverage the labor available there. Apart from Madhya Pradesh, which are the other states you see that can be a focus of this type of investment summit?
Arjun, my favorite state in this area, this question that is Odisha. If you look at Odisha, you've got everything practically that you could wish for. You've got a coastline, you've got tourism, you've got minerals, you've got port, cities on the shores. You practically got a railway running through it. I mean, to me, that's one state which excites no end. And you will probably see at some point a remarkable story emanating from that particular state. It's not that other states are not doing well or they can't do well. But automatically, if you talk about the potential, that's something which very few people talk about it. But that's one state where, you practically check any box that you would want. And typically you have that. So you've got airports out there, you've got tourism out there, you've got mineral plants out there, mineral mining is there. So it's a question of just getting the things sorted out and making sure the policies are aligned, and you probably are going to see another great story coming out from there. So it's just a question of time. Then there are, of course, at another level, even northeastern states where things are much more stable, much more peaceful now, and there's entrepreneurship taking root. Roads are getting built. That is going to be another area. If politically things remain stable, then you will find find, because of the potential for border trade, that's another area where you will find a lot of exciting new stories coming up. So there's hardly a part of India which I expect will get left behind, I'm sure. But these are some of the areas which we normally, at the moment, we don't think about them. But these are the areas in the future that you will find exciting stories coming out simply because of the kind of things that are happening out there. Some of the changes which don't look so significant at the moment, but these are profound sort of changes that are happening.
So the IMF and the World Bank have said that India is a bright spot in the global economy, and the World Bank says that India is more likely to face global headwinds as compared to other economies. Do you think the PLI scheme, the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, is the catalyst for India to really reach this stage where it's able to showcase its states within the Union of India as an investor destination?
Oh yes, Arjun, some of it is working, and these policies are also work in progress. So you keep seeing, you keep tinkering with it to make sure that things move on to a higher gear. So you will find that operating, and over a period of time, you will find smart entrepreneurs figuring out ways by which they can take advantage of it. So it will also, the scheme itself, the policy will keep evolving, and so would entrepreneurs. And it's one of the many things that are required, and it is going to show results. And of course, over a period of time, you will find a much larger sort of impact because of policies like this.
So from Madhya Pradesh targeting a $550 billion economy, we have Uttar Pradesh targeting itself as a $1 trillion economy within the Union of India. On the Lucknow Road Show, there were MOUs being signed to the tune of 76,000 crore rupees. Now, when do these MOUs actually translate into actual business on the ground?
Well, that's where they say the proof of the pudding lies in eating. So, yeah, it's very true. A lot of times you commit, you say that, okay, as part of the understanding, I'm going to do it. Sometimes they may or may not fructify. A lot of times they do fructify. And also, Arjun, when private investors are investing, they're setting up projects, setting up businesses, they also go through their own cycles, right? They're part of an industry which is going through a particular cycle. Individual companies go through their ups and downs. So one needs to factor that in. And there is also the global economic environment within the country. So they are all susceptible or get affected by some of these factors. But having said that, once you start having success stories, say within a state, then there are other people who want to go and emulate. They become role models. So it's sometimes, what is important is not maybe the sheer numbers, but sometimes even if you get good success stories, which you can show up as, they show them up as role models, you create that whole environment where suddenly you'll find a spurt because there are lots and lots of people who want to go and emulate. So sometimes statistics do help, but sometimes they don't indicate what is all set to become a reality. So sometimes some states may not appear that they are doing as well, but very, very important to be on the job, stay on the track, because you never know what certain success stories will end up doing.
So Indore aspires to be an IT hub as well. How is it that a state or a key city in the state is able to transform itself?
Well, Arjun, as long as you have got the infrastructure with electricity, broadband, so things like that. Already, Arjun, if you look at the startup distribution, geographical distribution, already it is going into various towns. You will find Lucknow, Jaipur, Indore, and I see no reason why Indore can't do well because it's a business capital of the state. It's just a matter of time. You would have already seen the kind of strides Pune has taken in IT. So it's just a matter of time before you start seeing those results.
Well, thank you so much, Udayan, for being with us on this program and talking to us extensively about the Global Investor Summit 2023 that has taken place in Indore, Madhya Pradesh, and before that we had the road show in Lucknow as well. Key milestones are sought to be achieved by the respective chief ministers to turn India into a $5 to $10 trillion economy with the help of states who have their individual targets of $1 trillion or $550 billion. Thank you so much, Udayan.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Global Investors Summit 2023, India, a preferred destination for investing. The participants were Udayan Ray, economic analyst, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.